Now, the MSU Federal Credit Union Coaches Show.
The Michigan State football team is on a bye this week, and you could say it's a much-needed bye after the tough 47-10 loss to Indiana MSU had at Spartan Stadium last Saturday. Right next to the football team's outdoor practice facility is the outdoor tennis courts, which is home to the MSU men's tennis team. Harry Jaden is in his third year leading the program and has taken the Spartans to new heights thanks to players like Okemos native Ozan Barish, who entered this season ranked #1 in the entire country. Barish is one of many talented players on this roster, and it's all stuff we discussed with Jaden recently, who's now leading the program he was once a part of. I feel like it's only right for us to start with the player who has really helped transform this program into what it is now, Ozan Barish. How have you seen him really just develop and grow into maybe a leader and more mature player as he's in his junior year now?
Yeah, for sure. I think just in general in tennis, as you climb that ladder, he came as a hotshot freshman for sure. And for him to make that next jump to be one of the top, if not the top college player in the nation, he had to become more mature. He had to manage the ups and downs because tennis is a very difficult sport. The guys at the highest level playing in the US Open and the French Open, they lose almost half their matches. So, you got to really handle the wins and the losses and be process oriented, which is something that we talked to him about a lot. So he's made a lot of strides, and it was always the physical skills and the competition, the drive. Like he always had that. So for him to kind of be able to manage those ups and downs has been the game changer for him, and it's been a lot of fun for me to see. Obviously in the recruiting process, we talked about it a lot, how he could be one of the best players in college tennis and hopefully have a great pro career. So it's cool for him to make that dream come true every single day.
Yeah, it's one thing to have these expectations coming in, but for him to reach those expectations of being the #1 ranking coming into this year, reaching the NCAA semifinal last year for the first time in program history for a player in this program. How has he just continued to stay humble, knowing like he's reaching all these big goals in the program?
Yeah, I mean, I think the fact that we have great training here, where we have other great players on our team, like Matt Forbes, who's, the top 18-year-old in the United States. We have Aris Thanos, who, plays Davis Cup for Greece. We got some big-time players like Max Sheldon, David Say. So, he gets knocked off in practice every once in a while, and he's taking some lumps there. So it's not like he has it easy every single day. It's really competitive. Guys are challenging him. They know that if they beat him, they're probably beating the guy they're going to play on the weekend. So, the guys do a really good job of pushing him. And then also, I just think he's done a great job of not being satisfied. He came into the fall as a #1 player in college tennis. He goes out and he's been playing a lot of professional tournaments now. And honestly, he hasn't been doing too well in them. He's had some good results, but also some results that he probably wishes were better. So for that, tennis is just a sport that it's always going to keep you humble. And as soon as you think you got it figured out, you're going to get knocked back down to square one.
How has having him on the roster helped with recruiting too, of bringing in someone like a Matthew Forbes, like you talked about, #1 18-year-old in the country?
Yep, it's just a chain of events, and I know Coach Izzo always talks about his first crop of recruits, the Flintstones. They kind of led into the Flintstones, and it's the same thing here where we get a guy from Okemos. He comes in, one of the top players in America, one of the top players in the world for his birth year, and then it makes it easier for a guy like Thanos to come in. And even last year, Ronnie Homan, who was the #1 recruit, he came in as a grad transfer. And then now Matt Forbes, obviously one of the top players in the nation and hopefully in the world for his birth year. It just makes that jump a little bit easier, and for me it makes my job easier because I'm not selling, a vision that's way up in the sky.
Year 3 for you coaching this program. What have you learned just about yourself as a coach, and what's been the biggest maybe challenge that you didn't expect?
Yeah, I think the challenge is just lost sleep. From little things like, making sure the courts are locked at night so tailgaters aren't sneaking in there and messing them up, to bigger things like, hey, we gotta land this recruit, we can't let the other teams get them, stuff like that. I just didn't really anticipate how much that wears on you mentally. And you see it with a lot of coaches now, especially with fundraising become a bigger part of the job. NIL is a big part of the job, and you got to keep these guys, you know, happy and competing and giving them opportunities. So this job is 24/7. You see a lot of the guys who started out in coaching maybe 15, 20 years ago. There's a lot in basketball and football, but it's happening in tennis as well. A lot of coaches are getting out of the profession. So it's just trying to manage that, trying to turn off my damn phone, you know, after 7 p.m. at night and just like enjoy that time at home, because it's the only time of peace that you really get. So I think that that's really been important, is just settling into the role and being a little bit, you know, more level-headed with everything and playing the long game.
Yeah, how has it helped too with, you know, you see a lot of these new coaches on campus with Adam Nightingale at hockey, Leah Johnson volleyball, Robin Freilich with women's basketball, all these programs that are on the rise too, and you know, you're in that mix as well. Do you guys help each other at all?
Yeah, definitely help. I mean, it's definitely motivation. You know, so I grew up in East Lansing, went to East Lansing High School, and so did Jeff Hostler at the, you know, with the women's soccer team. So I actually go to Thanksgiving dinner, and some people who know Hostler, they're good family friends with them, are there because they're family friends of mine as well. So, you know, some people are talking about, hey, you guys are doing a great job, this and that. And then, of course, the people that know Hostler say, hey, well, Hostler's won back-to-back Big Ten titles. So it keeps you a little motivated, but there's definitely help, you know, from, you know, Coach Nightingale helping us out when we have a recruit on campus, or Coach Izzo walking, you know, sitting down with a player like Matt Forbes for an hour and a half with him and his dad, when Coach Izzo has a million other things he could be doing. You know, Coach Smith has been great. Robin Freilich is my workout buddy. We work out at the same gym in the morning. So there's definitely a community, there's a camaraderie, and I think it's cool to have a lot of new energy and different philosophies coming in from different areas, not all from Michigan State or, you know, local. So it's cool to kind of exchange ideas with them.
Jaden says it's very rare to have the men's basketball coach at a place like Michigan State interact with tennis recruits, which goes to show you the type of person Tom Izzo is, as well as the other coaches on campus. Coming up after the break, we're going to be talking with one of the players Jaden mentioned with us, Matt Forbes. We're going to have that story for you right after the break.
When you're shopping, do you get cash back with cash?
Nope.
What about when you use a debit card?
Not a chance.
But when you use MSU FCU's Cashback Plus?
Heck yeah.
Get up to 20% cash back on your purchases with Cashback Plus. Dining out? Cash back. Online shopping? Cash back. Home improvement? Cash back. Discover more at msufcu.org/cashbackplus.
Welcome back to the MSU Federal Credit Union Coaches Show.
For most up-and-coming tennis players, playing in the top 4 premier tournaments is a lifelong goal. And for Michigan State freshman Matt Forbes, he was able to play in one of the Grand Slam tournaments before his classes at Michigan State even began. And recently, Forbes sat down with our DeSherian McBroom to talk more about how the sport of tennis is more than just a family affair, it's a lifestyle.
As a kid, some pick up a basketball or a football, or maybe even a hockey stick, and Michigan State freshman Matthew Forbes is no different. But his first time picking up a tennis racket wasn't much in the traditional manner.
I first started playing tennis when I was 2. I saw my sister play Wii tennis a lot, so I just played Wii tennis. And then a little after my sister started playing, she started playing when she was 7, and she's 5 years older than me, so when I was 2, I just got on the court and I just fell in love with it.
I know your sister plays tennis, but, you know, speak about just how influential, I guess, your family has been, you know, supporting both of you guys, but really supporting you across your tennis journey. Because, I mean, I know tennis takes you all around the country and, you know, has the opportunity to take you all around the world.
Yeah, I mean, my parents made a lot of sacrifices for my sister and I to especially go around the world. And right around 5 years ago, my brother was diagnosed with leukemia, so I know it was really tough on them to having to deal with that and having to deal with our tennis. So I'm really grateful for them and all the sacrifices they've made.
And while watching his brother fight a tougher battle than anything Forbes will endure on the tennis court, he uses that as motivation.
I mean, seeing him fight every day for his life, honestly, it's just, I mean, if he's fighting for his life, why can't I just fight on the tennis court for some time, you know?
And for Forbes, he keeps it all in the family as his sister motivates him as well. He admitted he really looked up to her when starting his tennis career.
You said you don't like to really admit it to your sister that you kind of follow her footsteps, but I'm sure there's one footstep you would like to follow. She won a national championship. You know, do you feel kind of the family pressure to kind of succeed at that level as well?
A little bit. I mean, I'm used to it. My sister won junior Wimbledon doubles in 2019, so I've always had to work a little harder. I've always had to work a little harder to win something. I always had to one-up her in everything. I always liked to do it. Like, we would play the same tournament 5 years apart, since we're 5 years apart in age. Right. And I would always try and get the round before. I'd always try and win the tournament just so I could be like, oh, I won this and you didn't. So it's a nice it's friendly competition.
Earlier this year, Forbes had the opportunity to qualify for a wild card spot in the U.S. Open at the USTA Boys 18 national title in Kalamazoo.
I believe even in the final match, I wasn't really thinking about it at all. And then it's actually funny. I think I told Harry this. I had match point. I looked at him. I'm like, oh crap! I actually have match point. I could actually like do this. So it took me a few tries to like really get it because I mean I was nervous. This is the U.S. Open. Like that's when like finally clicked in my head. And then the last one I did it. I was honestly relieved.
And soon after the excitement ensued, the emotion soon followed.
I was there. I gave my dad a hug. He started crying when I won. Don't tell him I said that, but it was honestly relieved.
I know you didn't get the satisfaction that you wanted, but with that being said, what was that moment like for you to actually get to play in a tournament that you have been watching since you were a kid?
It didn't feel real at first. I mean, when I walked on the court, I was like, oh, it kind of just, it was a lot to soak in, and then I settled in a little bit. I think it was honestly a really fun experience, a lot to learn from.
Even after having a few accomplishments under his belt, Forbes was excited to finally begin his journey as a Spartan.
I think Michigan State can take me to pro tennis. Like, it's the best opportunity for me to play pro tennis. I mean, I like the guys here. I've known a couple of them from before I started getting recruited here, and I love the campus. So.
And the U.S. Open competitor wanted to hit the ground running with his new teammates.
For myself, I'd love to be an All-American multiple times. Hopefully reach ATP like top 500, top 400, even 300. I don't like keeping like number goals for myself usually, but as for the team, national championship for sure, if not multiple of them.
And even though now he has participated in the U.S. Open, winning the U.S. Open is the one grand slam that he says would make it all worth it.
You were able to do that. What do you think that moment would be like for your family?
I don't know if I'll see my family more excited than that. So, no.
While Forbes has already had a lot of success in his young career, he knows there is still a lot to learn when it comes to the sport of tennis, and he is excited to be a part of a MSU men's tennis program that is on the rise, and he cannot wait to have some team success here in East Lansing. Coming up after the break, we're going to be talking with another third-year coach on campus, and that is Leah Johnson, the head coach of the Michigan State volleyball program. We'll see you soon.
Welcome back to the MSU Federal Credit Union Coaches Show.
The Michigan State volleyball team secured its biggest win of the season on its recent road trip out to the West Coast. The Spartans upset number 16 USC in a dramatic 5-set thriller. And as our Tyler Driesinga shares with us, it was a significantly special night for MSU libero Nelania Yosia.
For Nelania Yosia, Michigan State's road trip to USC at the end of October was a return to her roots. Yosia grew up in Long Beach, California, and comes from a large Polynesian family.
My Polynesian culture has kind of taught me to be really tough through those hard times, and the game of volleyball is such a mental, has a big mental capacity on you. So I think kind of growing up with that, just knowing that it's always going to be tough and you always have to push through no matter what the circumstances are, is kind of what my heritage really instilled in me.
Against the Trojans, 72 tickets were set aside for Josia's family members.
It was so much fun. I've been looking forward to this trip since it got on our schedule, and kind of seeing, I was kind of nervous at first because I haven't played in front of my family since I was about like 6 or 7 years old. So kind of seeing them all be there at first was just so heartwarming and very emotional for me, and I didn't know how I was going to go out and perform, knowing that I had quite literally my whole village there watching me, and then I had family on the court with me too.
Her family on the court that night was USC standout Mia Tuaniga, Josia's cousin.
And here's the cousins seeing each other. Oh, that is true cousin love.
Me and Mia have been playing against each other since we were 8 years old, so that was nothing new for us. I just think it was good for me to see how much we've grown as people, but as players as well.
The match was the most exciting and dramatic of the season for the Spartans. Down 24-22 in the third set, MSU was just 1 point away from being swept. Instead, the Spartans fought all the way back to pull off a stunning upset.
And it is over. Michigan State pulls off the upset against 16th ranked USC. The reverse sweep for the Spartans.
Where does that game and that moment, I guess, rank for you in terms of favorite memories here at Michigan State?
Oh, that probably has to be my top one. Just because both of my worlds kind of colliding, my family from Michigan meeting my hometown family, having them all there at once was just an amazing thing to happen, showing my teammates here where I came from, being able to just show out my culture and my heritage for them that one day meant the world to me, just because I think it made us closer as teammates and as people.
Josia is in her third and final season at Michigan State. She was a high school All-American and started her college career at perennial powerhouse Texas. As a freshman, Josia was second on the Longhorns in digs and played in all 29 matches, including the national championship match, which Texas lost to Kentucky that year. But by the end of her sophomore year, Josia says she was losing her love for the sport. She entered the transfer portal and came to East Lansing.
What was the number one thing that sold you on Michigan State?
Well, it wasn't the weather, so I mean,
It's never the weather here.
Yeah. Kind of just like this place gives me like small town family feel. Like it's a big college campus and community, but it's also very small and more personal and intimate, and I think that's something that I really wanted. Coming from Austin was a big city, there was a lot of things going on. I think coming here kind of helped me focus on myself a little bit more and to make more connections with those around me.
And I've heard you talk in the past about how toward the end of your time in Texas, kind of were struggling with your love of volleyball and kind of felt it fading, whether it was the pressure or whatever else. Do you feel like you've rediscovered that love of it here?
Oh, heck yeah. I think about this all the time. Kind of after Texas, I was at a very just kind of confused time in my life because I've never really felt that love for volleyball go away in my 14 years plus playing that. So coming to terms with that was kind of hard for me, and I don't think I really knew that's what was happening until I realized I would just have a lot of anxiety when I would want to go play, even just for fun when I was home. I think coming here as the years go by, this place is giving me more than I ever could have imagined. They gave me a purpose to play the sport again, and this place is giving me another family that I never would have thought I would have found all the way from California in East Lansing, Michigan. So I think about it every single day that this place quite literally saved my chances of just playing volleyball itself.
Josia came to Michigan State wondering what the future held for her and the sport she'd loved since she was a little girl. 3 years later, she's found a second family in East Lansing, created a lifelong memory with her family back home, and is ready to take charge of whatever life throws her way.
What are the biggest ways that you feel like you've grown as a person away from the volleyball court over your 3 years here in East Lansing?
I think this place has given me a lot of perspective just on different outlooks of life and kind of just the sports world. Knowing that everyone kind of approaches things differently and learning that and finding those tools as a leader has been huge for me. So kind of using that outside of volleyball is something that I've kind of taken pride in, kind of just taking charge on different scenarios and different parts of my life is probably the biggest thing.
Josiah has cemented herself as one of the best liberos in the Big Ten this season as she leads the conference in digs per set. And against Ohio State last Sunday, she had a career-high 34 digs, which was the third most in a single match in program history. And coming up after the break, we're going to be chatting with her head coach, Leah Johnson, as she is in year 3 leading the program. We'll see you soon.
I love getting out and trying new things, but my seizures have always kept me back. Thankfully, the providers and researchers at MSU Healthcare work together to get my epilepsy under control. So now I can try anything.
At MSU Healthcare, helping you do you is what matters most to us. In fact, it's our mission. Visit healthcare.msu.edu to find a provider.
Welcome back to the MSU Federal Credit Union Coaches Show.
It may not be the season record-wise Michigan State volleyball coach Leah Johnson was hoping for in her 3rd year leading the program. With the addition of the 4 West Coast teams to the Big Ten Conference, it has made rebuilding in the Big Ten that much more difficult. We recently sat down with Johnson to talk about this season and where she has been able to see the positives despite the record not being there. Year 3 for you here at Michigan State. I know the record isn't maybe where you want it to be, but where have you seen this team and the program just continue to grow?
Yeah, I mean, it all depends on how you're measuring progress, right? Of course, we want to win every single game, but I know our talent is better, I know our product is better, I know our competitive level is better. So I'm very pleased in all of those phases, and I trust that this process will result in that outcome success down the road.
You were just talking about the Big Ten and the teams that you have played already. Could you explain a little more about the competition you have been going up against?
You know, adding the 4 West Coast teams, right? So in our first 10 matches, we have only played top 40 teams, and we've played 3 teams that are undefeated still of those, and 5 that are in the top 10. So it has been a brutal start. We've also been on the road more than we've been home.
Do you think in a way having that tough schedule kind of early can help you as a coaching staff to see maybe some flaws or where things need to improve?
You know what's interesting about that? You've got this tough schedule in the front end. My challenge is making sure they see their gains, meaning the team, that we see the gains we are making, and that we continue to keep the faith, the belief that at any moment that page turns and we're in the fight again.
Going back to that USC win, obviously you're down 2-0, you know, what was the shift in mentality, or where did you see something change in the group to really complete the sweep?
So, you know, we got better each set, and it was, they had match point, and we just continued to swing away. I was glad that we stayed so fearless, and a couple plays went our way, and next thing you know, we never relinquished the lead after that for the next 2 straight sets. So it was a pretty special, you know, opportunity for us to get a big win on the road in a reverse sweep fashion.
Yeah, with some of the players on the roster, with Akasha Anderson coming over from Auburn, what has she really brought to the team? I know she leads in kills right now for you guys, but what has she really just brought to this group?
So the thing that you can't see on a stat sheet, and I guess maybe it shows up that way, but is her competitive nature. Like, she's got a fire about her. She has a chip on her shoulder. Mean is not the right word because she's such a kind person, but she has an aggressiveness that we had been looking for, someone to kind of propel us offensively with that fire. Set me the ball, set me the ball, set me the ball. So she has that, and now you see it in her kills. Like, she's leading us in kills.
You remember the first interaction you had with her when she entered the portal and Michigan State was an option?
Yeah, it was fun because, you know, she was looking for something drastically different. Location, environment. She also wanted the most competitive opportunity she could get. And, you know, she had offers and opportunities from teams that were competing for national titles in this moment. And so I was really pleased when we interacted, and she was looking for people who cared about her as a person, but also valued her competitive nature, valued the role that she could play in our team. And so she found, I think, all 3 of those things here.
The next home match for MSU is going to be on Friday night against rival Michigan. It'll start at 6 p.m. right here at the Breslin Center. And on next week's show, we're going to be talking with Johnson about a very special member to her program, so you will not want to miss that story. That is going to be it for this week's show. We appreciate you tuning in, and before we go, it's time for our play of the week, which was one of the early bright spots for Michigan State's football team in the loss to Indiana last Saturday, and that was true freshman Nick Marsh and his incredible touchdown catch.
Now, the play of the week, sponsored by Chupan & Sons.
Still looking. Throws to the corner of the end zone. Touchdown. Who else? Nick Marsh.
"10,000 children in Michigan are in foster care. Many are in need of a temporary home. Are you open?"
As a foster parent, you help a child reach their goals.
You make a game-changing assist.
You give a child the home advantage.
And you do it because you know every child deserves a special team.
Ready to cheer on a child? Take the first step to become a foster parent today.
When you're shopping, do you get cash back with cash?
Nope.
What about when you use a debit card?
Not a chance.
But when you use MSU FCU's Cashback Plus?
Heck yeah.
Get up to 20% cash back on your purchases with Cashback Plus. Dining out? Cash back. Online shopping? Cash back. Home improvement? Cash back. Discover more at msufcu.org/cashbackplus.